Hey, what's going on guys? This is 5 Large Fries. So, you've probably seen my beginner's guide series for Paladins, right? Well, throw all of that out the window because they've changed the game a lot since Season 1. So, while I won't be making beginner's guides for a very long time, I will share with you some tips that will help you improve. And today, we're looking at you, console gamers. Today's tips are going to cover a couple of champions that I'd avoid playing with the controller, as well as some settings that might just help you improve. Note that changing settings will be more of a preference choice than something that will inherently improve your gameplay, so let's get into it. First of all, let's take a look at champions that I would avoid on console, and they are Drogos and Eevee. These two champions are very difficult to play with a controller. Let's start with Drogos first of all. Now Drogos has got a nice bit of kit, but on console, to pull off the main combo, you need to be able to thread a needle from 5 miles away blindfolded. His Fire Spit is a fantastic ability that can clear objectives and deal massive AoE damage, but you need to be able to hit these Fire Spits to make them effective, and this is where the controller has its downfall. Well, you could just fire the Fire Spit at an enemy and coat them in Drogo's saliva and deal an additional 30% damage to them. It's not really worth it when you can be dealing massive AoE damage to everyone around and knock them away. Remember earlier when I said it's like threading a needle? Well, with a controller you have aim assist, and this will pull your cursor towards enemies, making it easier to aim. Drogo's Fire Spit doesn't count as an enemy, and as such, you won't have any aim assist at all on the Fire Spit itself. Additionally, if enemies walk close to that Fire Spit, chances are your cursor is going to pull away from the desired target, in this case being the Fire Spit, and towards the enemy, making you waste that ability, and all of that utility and damage that ability has, it's gone. All of it's gone, because one enemy decided to run in front like a little troll and go, hee hee hee, you're gone. So, that is what makes Drogos very hard to play. And not only that, his salvo ability is a waste of time. I've seen countless amounts of people using the ability thinking it's going to benefit them and deal more damage. Here's an example. A direct hit with a single rocket will deal about 850 damage, whereas a direct hit with a salvo rocket will deal 250 damage. And this is a huge damage drop off, and the only time that I would say this ability is worth using is if you have purchased Wrecker and you're going to be using the ability on somebody's shield. Otherwise, it's completely pointless and you will lose out on a huge amount of damage. Eevee is another champion who is very hard to play on console. Her main focus is around the legendary card that allows you to blink twice. Now when I say twice, I don't mean you can blink and then blink forward again. What I mean here is you blink and then you have about a 4-second window to recast the ability to return to the point where you initially cast blink from. Take an example here. So you want to blink past an enemy and deal damage from behind. Once you've blinked past them, you then have to turn about 180 degrees, adjust your aim, and then take the shots. Doing all of this in a 4-second window on console is very tricky, and could potentially put you in a lot of trouble if you miss that window to return back to your casting point. Now when I said we're going to run through some settings that might help improve your gameplay, we're going to go ahead and do that now. So the first thing I would say is go into the options, and the first option we're going to adjust is the FOV, also known as field of view. By default, this is on 90. If you play from the couch or you sit a fair good distance away from your TV or monitor, then I'll definitely leave this at 90. However, if you are pretty close to your monitor or your TV, I would recommend increasing this. I personally play with it on the maximum setting, and I'll show you the reason why. You see here on the left, the sky is half on the screen and half hidden off of the screen. Now, this is currently set at 90 field of view. Now, if you increase this to the maximum, you can see now that the sky is fully in view, plus I can even see more around the left side of her, and this is going to help you out a lot, as you'll be able to see people coming that you probably wouldn't have if you had a lower field of view. Now going into controller settings, I'd recommend changing the X and Y axis sensitivity to whatever you feel comfortable with. I personally leave it at default as I find that it's in the right spot for me. However, you may want to make it slower or faster depending on what you feel comfortable with. Now, aim acceleration mode is something that I would change, and by default it is on dynamic, and I will definitely recommend changing this to classic. The reason why is that on dynamic I felt it threw my aim off all the time. What this effectively would do is speed up your aiming, so the longer you held the analog stick in a given direction, the quicker it's going to aim, and you're going to be dragged further away from where you want to be aiming at. Aim assist is something that I personally would leave at default, as you'll be putting yourself at a larger disadvantage turning this off. Now, in terms of the left and right stick dead zones, I will personally recommend lowering whichever stick you use to aim with down to 1. And the reason why is you can make such precise aiming and so very subtle movements on the analog stick to get this precise aiming on the lowest dead stick zone possible. So effectively, the moment you start moving the analog stick is the moment you start aiming. Whereas if you have it on default, you'll have to move the stick further to make those subtle movements, which could affect your aim overall. That's all the tips I have for you today. If you're interested in loadout guides, let me know in the comments down below and I'll definitely start updating those. If this helped you, slap the living shit out of the like button. Also, why not subscribe? Because my ego needs stroking and you can help me stroke it by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.